The HOA walked onto my property like they ruled the lake, like the whole place was just waiting for their permission to breathe until one forgotten document blew their cardboard kingdom to pieces. The morning they came after my dock, I figured it'd be another HOA tantrum, same old parade of empty threats. But the second that violation notice slapped my hand, something in the air changed. You ever get the feeling the land itself is daring you to fight back? That was me standing there with a cold coffee, the lake perfectly still, waiting for round one. Name's Evan. What started as a little feud over a few planks of cedar turned into a knockdown, drag-out war that exposed who actually owns the water in this county. I hope you're ready because things are about to get wild. If stories about justice and standing your ground hit home, drop a justice in the comments. Trust me, you're going to want to see how this ends. The first light of a Montana morning never sneaks up on you. It's respectful, like it's got enough sense to tip its hat before stepping in. That dawn, a thin fog drifted across Mallister Lake, silver ribbons curling around the cedar dock I'd built by hand. The wood still smelled of linseed oil and old sawdust, carrying the promise I made to my father before he passed: keep the lake in the family. Keep it honest. The air was sharp enough to sting, but I didn't mind. Some mornings, all you want is a little silence and the cool bite of what's yours. Then came the clack of heels, sharp, impatient, like a warning shot. The mist parted, and there she was, Denise Harland, HOA president, in a rose blazer and a face so stiff it could have been carved from marble. She never looked at the lake, didn't nod, didn't smile, just marched up and slapped a violation notice against my chest hard enough to spill coffee down my sleeve. Unauthorized structure, she snapped. You've got 48 hours to remove this dock or the HOA pursues property seizure. I blinked halfway between the quiet of the morning and this circus she'd dragged onto my boards. Ma'am, what I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Don't play coy, Mr. Mallister, she cut in. Your dock's non-compliant with community standards. It must go. The words were like ice, impersonal, final. She didn't care about the work I'd put in, the history nailed into every board. I glanced at the notice, big red letters screaming violation at me. I filed every permit passed, every inspection I started, but Denise shook her head, heels scraping louder. Doesn't matter. The HOA controls all lake structures. This is our shoreline, our view, our rules. A wind picked up, carrying a chill straight through me. I stared past her at the mountains, blue and unbothered, and tried to make sense of how a handful of neighbors could claim an entire lake. Since when does the HOA own the water, I asked. Since we decided we needed consistency, she answered, flicking her hand like my dock was a piece of trash on the sidewalk. This eyesore is non-standard, unapproved, and it's going. She left as fast as she came, her heels echoing all the way up the shore. And I stood there clutching a piece of paper that threatened my father's legacy, the wood under my feet suddenly feeling like thin ice. That's how it started. By mid-morning, the fog had lifted, but the day kept getting heavier. Denise came back this time with Miles Reich, HOA's favorite contractor, built like a bag of hammers and twice as subtle. Provisional compliance inspection. He grinned like we were old pals. Miles started poking at the dock, measuring tape flapping around his wrist, calling out nonsense like load-bearing alignment ratio and 3 inches over standard edge tolerance. I asked if that was a real term. He didn't answer. Denise scribbled on her clipboard, declaring my dock non-compliant. County approved this, I said, voice flat. Every bolt, every beam. She smiled thin and cold. County permits don't supersede community standards. Our rules require uniformity. She waved at the row of plastic-looking floating platforms built by who else, Miles. Consistency protects property values, she added like she was quoting scripture. And there it was, the real motive. Property values. I asked what was wrong with my dock, and Miles shrugged. For starters, it's wood. I almost laughed. It's a lake. Docks are wood. HOA prefers composite, he said. Uniform color, less maintenance. I muttered. More profit, you mean? He didn't answer. Denise repeated the warning, remove your dock in 48 hours. As they left, I looked at the violation notice in the dock I'd built with my own hands plank by plank, learning the moods of the lake with my father. It was more than just wood. This was legacy. This was war. That night, the neighborhood rumor mill kicked into high gear. Flyers appeared on porches, bold headlines about unsafe, non-standard docks endangering the community. They even used a crooked, shadowy photo of my dock, making it look like a death trap. My neighbor Grant Holloway saw it all. "If that thing's unsafe, I'm a ballet dancer," he joked, waving a mug, but his tone shifted. "Your father ever tell you about the old agreements out here? HOA didn't always run things. The lake had its own rules." My mind started spinning. Next morning, I found sabotage. Someone had damaged a joint near the ladder. Sabotage. No doubt about it. I mounted security cameras, angling them to catch every footstep on the dock. Within a day, I had footage, two figures skulking around one with Miles's swagger, taking pictures, whispering plans. This was more than neighborly concern. It was a campaign. I started digging. Pulled out my father's old folder, dog-eared property notes, yellowing survey maps, cryptic receipts. Then I drove to the county seat. Dolores Martinez, the records clerk, greeted me with a knowing smile. "Looking for something, Evan?" she asked. I told her everything, the dock, the HOA, the feeling in my gut that none of this was legal. She led me into the back room. Rows of old metal cabinets, air thick with dust and secrets. We found what we were looking for, a brittle folder marked Crest Creek Dam Projects, early 1900s. Inside, handwritten schematics, land surveys, and one line underlined twice, perpetual water management rights assigned to E. Mallister, 1924. My grandfather's initials. The county, desperate for funding back then, had granted our family total authority over the water system, maintenance, shorelines, structures, tributaries. Not to a public agency, not to an HOA, but to us. Dolores pointed to another line. Any future developments or associations must get written authorization from the water rights holder. Legally, the HOA didn't have a drop of authority over Mallister Lake. Not one. She handed me certified copies, stamped and sealed. Evidence older than any board member or bylaw. It hit me hard, the truth and the responsibility. I drove home heart-pounding and waited. The HOA called an emergency meeting, probably to vote me into the Stone Age. The community center was packed. Denise took center stage, all confidence and sharp lines, rattling off accusations about my dangerous dock. Then it was my turn. I stood folder in hand and told the truth. When my grandfather designed this lake system, the county granted us perpetual rights predating the HOA, predating most homes here. Any structure, any rule needs our family's authorization. That holder is me. Denise tried to shout me down, but Sheriff Wes Calhoun and my friend Clara Bishop, a lawyer with more backbone than a mountain, stood up. "I've reviewed the documents," Wes said, voice calm. "An HOA can't override county-recognized water rights." Clara confirmed any fines, regulations, or actions by the HOA are void. The room erupted, relief, anger, disbelief. Denise stormed out, promising it wasn't over. And she was right. Next morning, I caught Miles and two cronies lowering the inlet gate, trying to drop the lake level so my dock would look unstable. Caught them red-handed on camera, called the sheriff, documented everything. Wes was there in minutes. Citations were issued. The county started investigating. Soon after, the commissioner announced an official inquiry into the HOA, unauthorized fees, fake compliance notices, tampering with county property. Miles lost his contractor's license. Denise got a county cease and desist forbidding any water-related HOA action. Second emergency meeting, this one half-empty chairs, spread wide, folks nervous. Denise looking like she'd aged 10 years overnight. Clara handed her the county order. All water regulations void. Fees must be refunded. Non-compliance triggers penalties. Denise's voice broke. "I was just trying to protect this place." For a second, I saw her as human, a little lost, watching her empire crumble. But justice isn't about pity. Wes escorted her out to meet with investigators. Neighbors came up, some apologizing, some thanking me, some just nodding, relieved, finally understanding what had really been going on. Sheriff Wes stopped by with coffee and congratulations. "It's done," he told me. "County recognizes your authority. The HOA can't touch the lake again." I started rebuilding the dock, each sweep of the sander erasing a bit more of the bad blood, bringing out the old beauty in the wood. Clara came by, dropped off a stewardship plan, community input, wildlife guidelines, preservation notes. "You're creating a legacy," she said. By week's end, the dock stood strong, honey gold in the sunset. Neighbors visited, cookies helped, simple thanks. Even the shy teenager biking past gave me a thumbs up. You saved everyone like $800, he said. I laughed, realizing none of this was ever just about me. That weekend, as snowflakes drifted onto the lake, I screwed a plaque into the new bench. For those who respect the water, remember the past, and choose stewardship over control. I sat mug warm in my hands, watching the water breathe under winter's gentle touch. I understood then what my grandfather must have known: nobody owns a lake. You're just its caretaker for the brief moment you're here. The dock stood. The lake endured. Justice, real justice, found its place here. Power isn't about control, it's about knowing the land and protecting it when others forget. The story ends here for now, with the lake finally free and me just a man listening to the water, honored to guard it. So let me ask you, where do you draw the line between power and stewardship? If you've ever had to stand up to an HOA or anybody who forgot what fairness looks like, drop a justice in the comments. So I know I'm not the only one out here. And if you want more stories about folks defending what's theirs with grit and patience, you know where to find me.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video của mình.